At this point, we've been very safe, looking at long-lasting gains with minimal side effects.
You can't use the word steroid and minimal side effects in the same sentence. This is absolute bullshit.
I'm Tori McFall. I'm an engineer who separates signal from influencer noise and reduces physique transformation to the few decisions that actually move the needle. When I was young, dumb, and full of I tried Tren. Blood pressure went up, mood swings everywhere, and the side that I never see get mentioned enough, my risk tolerance went through the roof. Terrible life decisions.
Are you crying?
No.
Not in.
I'm not.
Okay. You're happy?
I actually avoided gear altogether for a decade following that. But now I'm old, wise, and optimized. I'm happy to say I'm experiencing none of those sides now, and my body is getting better every day. I lost 25 pounds of fat, and to my surprise, gained 6 pounds of muscle in 75 days. And although my diet and training were optimized, there's no way I would have reached that level of result without small doses of the 3 best compounds of all time. This is a good place for me to clarify that I have only done the cycle in this video one time, and it was for my 75-day cut. All the details are actually in my course if you look in the description. I include everything just from a disclosure perspective. I'm not telling anyone to do these things. I just feel like I need to be 100% honest in everything that I did and every detail of how I gained 25 pounds of muscle, or shit, that would have been great. How I gained 6 pounds of muscle and lost 25 pounds of fat in 75 days, I've captured in that system. I'm also on TRT. So there were questions about this video originally. There were more people than I thought that didn't realize that I was talking about these 3 steroids on top of a TRT base. And that's critical. Any synthetic that you take is going to repress your natural testosterone production. So you're going to need to have that dialed in. What makes a perfect steroid? It's simple. You want to maximize the benefit and minimize the detriments. Now, every compound builds muscle when you're in a calorie surplus and minimizes muscle loss in a deficit. The real question is which compound gives you the maximum anabolic gain for the minimum side effect buck.
Even in small doses, there are side effects. And they're actually direct effects. These steroids, they're androgenic. They cause virilization for women. And for men, they do a whole host of different things. Cardiac remodeling. You're going to have left ventricular hypertrophy. You can get a heart attack, a stroke. You can have liver failure, kidney disease, cancer. Make you aggressive, lose your hair, gynecomastia, acne, irritability, brain fog. Your private member won't work.
I'm not saying that this comes with zero risk. I hope that as you watch this video, you can see that I'm positioning this as a risk versus reward equation. And I'm starting from the perspective of how bad and serious Tren is. And I know how many people are using that these days. So in comparison to that, this is definitely minimal. And when I'm thinking about what my definition is of minimal side effects, I'm thinking side effects that reside somewhere in the realm of what you're facing, even on just TRT. And again, I suggest only even considering these things atop TRT. He mentions virilization in women. I don't recommend that women do this. That's, I didn't make this video for women. He talks about left ventricle hypertrophy. That's an important one to mention. I'm happy to add that to this video. You're growing muscles. Your heart is a muscle. The main pumping chamber of your heart is going to get bigger if you have prolonged steroid use or you have high dosage use. And, maybe at some of these smaller doses, that is still something that occurs. Do I have the data and the studies to compare something like cardiac remodeling in low dose TRT and then low and micro dose steroids that I'm talking about in this video? We see which one carries a greater risk of cardiac remodeling. I don't. I know that these compounds that I'm mentioning are some of the more tolerated compounds, way more tolerated than Tren and some of the harsher compounds, and come with much lower side effects. And I know that there's this curve, right, where in the beginning, the benefit that you get is very high, but the side effects start off lower. As time goes on, the side effects really start to ramp up. So with every milligram you're adding, the side effects start to shoot through the roof, but the gains fall off and start to level out. So if you're a bodybuilder and you need every little edge, you start creeping over here. And for these minimal increases in gains, you're now at a point where your side effects are going through the roof to get them. I'm talking about this zone 1 right at the beginning, how if you're going to do this, and I'm not saying that you should, most of the gains that I've gotten in my life have been natural or on TRT alone without anything synthetic. I just know for me, if I were to push my testosterone up, my hematocrit tends to get high. If I go too high, I can have too much estrogen conversion. So this mixture that I put together, this was for me, and I'm just telling you how I came to that conclusion as a guy who tends to really dig in and analyze these things. But in the end, it's your call. Well, there happens to be a compound that comes with no estrogen headaches, no need for the use of an AI. And because it's a DHT derivative, it leaves the door open for synergy with more powerful 19-nor anabolics. What if I told you that this compound has been extensively studied in clinical medicine, prescribed in wasting conditions, post-surgery recovery, and proven in research to be exceptionally well tolerated? Its reputation isn't just due to bodybuilders and forums. It came from decades of real medical use. And unlike harsher anabolics, this one doesn't spike prolactin, doesn't bloat you, doesn't trash your sleep or your mood. You don't need to babysit it with extra ancillaries. In a calorie deficit, it is great at preserving lean tissue. And in a calorie surplus, it simply provides keepable, steady lean mass gains.
Do you see that the muscles were not permanent? A lot of people think, I'll just go on cycle for like 3 or 4 months. I'll put on 10 pounds of muscle and then I'll stop and I'll keep all those gains. You don't keep the gains. This is the lie that many people have been telling you.
My core position is if you're on TRT and you're using these compounds conservatively, and your diet is dialed in and your training is dialed in and you're tracking everything. And again, I have my system available where I give you my actual spreadsheets and everything that I use to do this, that you can come out of this, especially if you're just cutting, and you can maintain the muscle, because the primary thing you're trying to do is hold on to the muscle while burning the fat a little faster than you could without a little help. So the real danger, I think, comes with people who try to put on a lot of muscle, especially if they're going from untrained to packing on a lot of muscle with the use of steroids, especially higher doses and more powerful steroids. Then you're going to be psychologically disappointed when you come off of that and you lose all of that muscle. And if you're not on TRT, your natural testosterone production is going to be gone, and you're definitely going to lose all the muscle. That's why I don't recommend that young guys who have normal T do any of this at all. I say just eat and put on the muscle mass. But if you can go back to a TRT base and you keep your training up and you still eat reasonably and get your protein, you can keep your gains. And if it's just a cut, you held on to them through the cut. When you come out of that cut and you're eating extra calories and you're still lifting, you can keep the gains, especially if you kept the doses in that zone 1, I'll call it, where the benefits are high, but you haven't redlined it in any way. There's only one catch. It's the most counterfeited steroid out there. But when you find the real deal, the effect to side effect ratio is unmatched. That's why the first pillar of the anabolic triad is primobolan. And now that you have this solid DHT base, you have the option to add more anabolic firepower from the 19-nor family. And that's where the second pillar comes in. Imagine training for years with tendon pain and within weeks having it completely disappear. That's exactly what happens for many lifters on this special compound. Now, just a caveat, I actually ran all of this through AI and said, hey, attack me, on these issues. And it was like, well, you could have just led people to believe that this compound is going to make all their joint problems go away. And although this does put fluid on the joints and make joints more comfortable, that it's not necessarily healing the joints, and not everyone reports this response. So just to be clear, I did say for many lifters, but, and for me, I'm one of them, and I'm mostly in this video. I mean, all I can talk about is my personal experience with it. I had some shoulder and elbow pain that I didn't experience, even with the very low dose of this compound. Now, not all 19 NORs are created equal. Tren, for example, has maximum potency, but it also has maximum side effects, maximum health cost. So Tren is out, but this one's different. It's more anabolic than our TRT plus Primo foundation, but it also supports joint comfort even at low doses. This compound comes in 2 flavors. One, with its long ester, can linger for months. But fortunately, you have the short ester option that will clear your system quickly should you have any problems. We're entering a more powerful anabolic family here, so that comes with greater side effects. The smart move is to keep the dose low. What's more, when you keep the dose low, say somewhere between 50 and 200 milligrams per week, many men don't end up needing an AI in that range, because this compound only aromatizes at 20% the rate of testosterone. So without further ado, the second pillar in the anabolic triad is NPP. It's the manageable 19 NOR. Potent growth, tendon relief, and recoverability that keeps you in the game. So the other place that AI attacked me was on this. A lot of people don't need an AI or don't experience, the prolactin issues that can lead to erectile dysfunction and things when they keep the dose very low. And I didn't, but it was also saying, well, it's cumulative. So if you're having, some estrogen conversion from your TRT that's underneath, this is going to be a cumulative effect, even though it's converting at that much lower rate. You could still be driven into a place where you would need an AI. And I feel like that's pretty, obvious that that's a possibility. But, just for the sake of making this video more thorough in regard to the risk, pay attention to it. Your estrogen could certainly get high. It's why I recommend the blood test. I have, links in the description for where you can get the cheapest blood test and things too. And I even have, in the system that I put together, I put my chart that I use for identifying which blood test that I take, not just for the TRT, but I also map it depending on the type of steroid that I'm taking, the ones that I choose. And so it's not me telling you that's what you should do. It's what I did, and everything that I did, I'm making available. At this point, we've been very safe, looking at long-lasting gains with minimal side effects. But what about performing better and looking sharper now? Can we have our cake and eat it too? That's where compound 3 comes in. This compound will make you look better and perform better than 99% of gym goers, and it'll do it in mere weeks. Oh, and its sides are minimal. So this is a return to the DHT family, but unlike Primo, this acts quickly. It spikes strength, drives performance, and shifts water inside the muscle while drying out the layer under your skin. That's why it makes you look almost instantly leaner than you actually are. And it has healing properties, it aids in collagen synthesis, and combined with the NPP, you're really going to support recovery. Now, does this compound add lots of size? Not really. But we already have Primo, and NPP as our hypertrophy engine. This compound is the polish and performance kicker that makes training more enjoyable and performance more impressive. Now, like our other 2 picks, safety is paramount. Fortunately, this one has one of the cleanest safety profiles of any oral ever made. No estrogen, no prolactin, no water weight. The main thing you'll need to watch is cholesterol. There's a reason this became a medical drug in burn units and recovery wards. It works and it's tolerable. Used responsibly, it's as safe and oral as you will find. And I've personally had great results on as little as 20 milligrams as a pre-workout, only on the days I work out. So hopefully that's clear. We're talking about the lowest doses that give you the biggest bang for the buck. And we're talking about that it comes with risk. Watch out for lipids. You need to check your cholesterol. You need to do your blood work. But as far as orals, it is as safe and oral as you will find. I didn't say that it comes with zero risk, but it's definitely one that I got through this program and had no issues with that, you know, and I know it's popular amongst females. So I know there's some people that they don't think about that, you know, for males. But again, if you're not a bodybuilder, then you shouldn't be looking to just maximize every gain you can get at the expense of your health.
Wrong, going to the gym and working out, lifting weights, doing cardio, eating healthy, all of that is healthy. But getting up on stage, getting peeled, shredded, very low levels of body fat, none of that is healthy. Most women are losing their periods. Most men have no energy, brain fog, and so on. I could make an entire video on just the negative side effects of competing. And so bodybuilding isn't healthy, especially if you add using performance-enhancing drugs.
So I definitely agree with Greg on this point too. And it's something that I can add to this video that gives it a little more value. I'm not talking to bodybuilders. With bodybuilders, you have to go to that point that we talked about earlier, where if you really want to be number one, you're going to have to start taking drugs that are harsher, and you're going to take them even at the point where the side effects really start to ramp and the benefits start to level off, because those few percentages of, you know, lower body fat, little bit extra muscle can mean the difference between winning a competition or not. I don't recommend getting down to very low body fat percentages. In the pictures that you see before and after that I put in this video, that's me. You know, that it's good lighting. I may have gotten down to 8.5%. It may have been closer to 10%. It depends. Different methods kind of gave me different results, but I looked as good as I ever want to look at those body fat percentages. I have no interest in getting down to those non-sustainable levels of body fat where you're 6%, you know, below, even 7 or 8 is getting too low for me, because it does come with all these health side effects. That's not a permanent thing. That's like for being on stage. And so for those of us that don't want to be on stage, I don't really see the point of going that low. And I also think being in that competition just is psychologically, if you're competitive, going to drive you into that dangerous side effect range just to eke out that little bit of extra muscle and tweak your fat levels down to those unsustainable low levels. You should be looking for those things that give you some return while keeping the risk reasonable. That's why the final pillar of our anabolic triad is Anavar. But the real beauty of the triad is only revealed when you look at them together. Guess what happens when you rank the top 10 steroids by their ability to promote lasting gains? Primobolan sits at the very top of that list, on top of being the most tolerated steroid. NPP sits right behind it with the added recovery edge. And Anavar polishes this all off by satisfying your impatience and allowing you to look good and perform well now. Lasting gains, minimized cost, and a physique that looks elite. Primo, NPP, and Anavar, the smartest stack you'll ever run.
When you decide to put something into your body, it's on you. The buck stops here.
Greg and I definitely agree on this point. Everything in this video is just me saying what worked really well for me one time for this cut where I wanted to be very aggressive and see if I could hold on to my muscle while rapidly losing fat. There are risks that come with it. I tried my best to minimize them. This is how I thought about it. But you have to weigh all of these things for yourself. And at the end of the day, it's your decision what risks are acceptable in exchange for what level of reward.